Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, X-Wing players, and anyone who is potentially interested in X-Wing. Welcome to our channel. My call sign is BatMando, and if you are new to this game or you are just getting back into this game, then this is the place to be. This is a channel dedicated to the pilots and boosting pilot skills in the game of X-Wing, but today's episode we are going to be talking about the Battle of Yavin, my review, and for what it's worth, these are my 2 credits. So, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and admit that this scenario is weighted very heavily against a rebel victory. And that makes sense thematically and everything else, because the rebels were attacking a quote-unquote home base, if you will, and or an imperial stronghold. So it would make sense that they have a lot more resources, as in they are going to be outnumbered by the number of ships and various other resources as well. Next thing I'm also going to tell you is that the rebels do stand a fighting chance, but it is a very steep climb. It's not even an uphill battle. It's just a straight up K2 Mount Everest type climb. So, but it is possible. Now, that being said, you can fly the cards that are inside the box, or you can think outside the box. What I'm going to tell you is that this was my 3rd time playing the Battle of Yavin Scenario, and I thought that on this particular video and this particular run, I would go ahead and build 2 lists that were thinking outside the box. So, now, the other thing I would like to go ahead and tell you, before you start building a list for the Battle of Yavin Scenario, if you are the rebels, I have 3 words for you, and they are torpedoes, torpedoes, torpedoes. There is no way to blow up the Death Star if you have no way to get torpedoes down the shaft, and in which case, if you don't have torpedoes, then the mission is lost. I will also remind you that you only have 9 rounds to complete this mission. Otherwise, the Death Star is able to prime its weapon and blow up Yavin. So, let's go ahead and continue on. And we're going to go ahead and show you the rebel pilots that were selected. I'm not going to read all the rebel pilots because there are a lot of them. And I'm also going to tell you that, yes, I'm aware that some of these pilots were not even at the Battle of Yavin. This is just for fun. It is not for canon. So, in which case, look at all those pilots that we have there. The ones I'm going to go ahead and point out are the ones that say Battle of Yavin loadout. So the Battle of Yavin has some standard loadout cards that are specific to the characters or the pilots that they are with, such as Garvin and Jek here both have advanced proton torpedoes, and Luke and Wedge have proton torpedoes, and the difference between the two is the range for which you fire the weapon. Now, that being said, I would like to go ahead and tell you that I threw in these other characters to help try to maintain the numbers of Imperial pilots and Imperial, Imperial obstacles to keep us from being so much outnumbered. Hence why you see the cluster missiles and everything else. Hence why you also see a different loadout for Han Solo, so that we can actually get 2 shots off instead of 1. So, now, let's look at the flip side where we have the Empire. And again, not in canon, ladies and gentlemen. As a matter of fact, one of the players that I asked to help me film this, when I first showed him the list, he looked at me and said, "You do realize that bombers were not probably at the Battle of Yavin?" To which my reply was, absolutely right. But that's why they do not have bombs. And that's actually one of the rules of the scenario, that the Imperial squadron cannot have devices. So instead of having devices on the bombers, I went ahead and loaded them up with lots of munitions, as you can see right there. It also helps that a majority of those bombers have saturation salvo to hopefully get the defense of the rebels to be re-rolled and then possibly kill them because they were not able to be successful in that second roll. Now, there are still plenty of TIE fighters and TIE Interceptor and one very specific Darth Vader that allows us to still carry out, for those of you who are like, but you need to use the Yavin pilots. We did, just not all of them. So, now, let's go ahead and just say that this is just the beginning, as in that's just the pilots. Now we need to go ahead and show you what all happened strategy-wise and everything else. So, by the way, please, would you help us out? I'm a teacher who's trying to make this as a side hustle, and quite frankly, all I'm asking of you is to click like on our videos. I am just doing this out of the kindness of my heart, and I actually enjoy this game very much, and I like to help other players like yourself possibly get better at this game. So please do me a favor, subscribe to our transmissions, and in which case I'm going to now switch on over to some footage of what we were able to do in our Battle of Yavin. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to round one of our Battle of Yavin experience. Call signs Reaper and Goose are flying for the Imperial, and I will be flying the Rebels by myself. Now, as you can read there, we discovered too late that the Rebel forces towards the top part of the screen were not actually on the camera lens. So we've included this Rebel movement so that you can imagine where it is that we are going. If you are new to the game and you just saw a whole bunch of one forward to victory, that is a typical thing that we say for the Rebels because they move forward and that's it. Reaper and Goose are first player in this round, going through our usual movements. Not a lot of action going on, obviously, because, well, it's the first couple of rounds. And we fast-forwarded a little bit so that we can actually see a little bit of action because there was actually time for shots. Not a lot of damage was actually exchanged, if any at all. As a matter of fact, I believe that any damage that Sabine did make onto Iden went ahead and made it go away using the 2 charges. So, we're in round 3, and as you can see, the Imperial have new ships coming in. I am first player in this round. And for the movements that you cannot see, again, we went ahead and included it. You'll notice that Han Solo is in reserve. He will come in later in the game as part of the condition. So moving forward through all of our, how shall I say, motions, setting down focuses, making target locks. Now, I am going to tell you that one of the, how shall I say, bonuses of this particular list is that I put Corrin and Thane with R3 astromechs. Corrin is able to go ahead and put down 2 target locks at the same time, and a majority of the Rebel forces have locked Corrin. If you check out Corrin's ability, you're going to see that Corrin is able to pass one of those locks onto the same target that he had. Now it's time for shots, and we looked for range 1 on this. Now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you that I do not remember all of the different damages and things that were done. So we are just simply going to focus on who dies when. So there's a lot of focus fire going into death fire at this point in time. If you are new to the game and do not know what focus fire is, that's when you take all of your ships and focus on one particular ship of the opponents. And as you can see, Deathfire has been destroyed. Deathfire was able to go ahead and get his parting shot as it is dictated. Even though it is considered an initiative kill, Deathfire has an ability that allows him to still shoot from beyond the grave, as I like to refer to it. So, now, we're into round 4, and as you can see, a lot of movement going on still. I am, again, first player. We're going and having Sabine do system boost and then a 1 hard to get behind the forces that we have there. You may have seen Also that the TIE Interceptor Iden went ahead and did a systems boost as well. So now we have a lot of movement going on, and Iden is going to be a little bit of a headache for me here in just a second, because there it is, the bump. So that keeps Corn from moving forward. And then we also have a couple of other pilots that were not seen. I'm going to tell you that Wedge is currently moving onto the trench out of sight, and therefore will be entering the trench in the next round. So we still have movement going on. Now, if you're asking why is it sped up so heavily, it's because this round almost lasted 30 minutes. So I'm going to tell you that when you are planning to play this game, that you should allot a good amount of time for it. So now we're at time for shots. Lots of shots going all over the place. You can see that focus is being spent and various other rolls are being done. And then throughout this process, Horn has been taking a lot of damage. There are other ships that are taking damage as well. Garvin, I believe, was just given a blinded pilot card, which is going to haunt him for the rest of the game. And then you will see that the bombers over there decided to go ahead and make their targets Corn Horn, and they were able to kill Corn Horn at that point in time. So that is coming to the end of round 4, and I would like to go ahead and say, please, please, please help us out, get the word out about us. Thank you for watching this video. Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Part 2 will be coming out next week. Same BatMando time, same BatMando channel. And as always, BatMando out.